So this is Zachary Faruque. He's apparently an offering analyst at OneTrust, whatever that might be, and this is preparing for the removal of the third cookie. He's got 18 more months to prepare for that anyway. So let's have another video, shall we?
Hello and good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are watching this from. My name's Zachary Faruque. I'm an offering analyst here at OneTrust. I have both my Certified Information Privacy Professional for Europe as well as my Certified Information Privacy Manager. And today we're going to be talking about, over the next 10 minutes or so, the death of the third-party cookie. Now, a hot topic, not just because Google had previously announced that they were deprecating third-party cookies in 2021, but of course, coming up to 2 weeks ago now, for those of you that aren't aware, Google have now pushed that date. Google, of course, owning the Chrome browser, which has by far the largest market share, anywhere between 60 and 70%. But the reality is they are still being deprecated as a technology, and it is absolutely still worth preparing for this and making sure that you are prepared when that actually happens. New date is looking at sometime in the back end of 2022 with a phased approach coming in from Google Chrome. But what I wanted to do was just talk about the key difference between first-party cookies and third-party cookies, first of all, as somewhat of some context. Now, a first-party cookie is an extremely useful tool. It allows you to store information. That can be things like a session, so that a user is logged in and we know they remain logged in, moving from page to page on a website. We could store things like basket information, preferences. So it is a very useful tool. Now, the key difference between that first party and the third party is that a first party cookie is only available and is set by the domain that you are visiting. So if I was visiting website a.com, that would drop a first-party cookie that is tied to website a.com. And what that means is that no other website, if I was to go to website b.com or c.com, they wouldn't be able to access and see that cookie. Now, the key difference with the third-party cookie is that it is set by a domain outside of the domain that you're on. So if we have, for instance, code on our website a.com is running code from adserver.com, then that adserver.com code can store a third-party cookie, which is tied to adserver.com and not website a.com. And so as I move to other websites, if they have that same resource, they can access that third-party cookie. So really important to understand the distinction, and important to know that first-party cookies will still remain, and it is just the third-party cookies that are being deprecated. Now, if we look at what does this mean in real terms? How do we use third-party cookies? Well, the most prolific usage of the third-party cookie is ultimately for identification, and it's used by the ad tech ecosystem. So irrespective of which side of the fence we sit on, if we're buy side as an advertiser or sell side as a publisher, that whole ad tech ecosystem online is currently run by these third-party cookies. And what that means is that I, as a head of marketing for OT Kicks, if I decide that I want to do some remarketing or retargeting of all of those users that have visited my website on Twitter, for instance, then I would very simply go over to Twitter. I can log in to my business account, click a few buttons, and Twitter will ultimately give me a little piece of code, as you can see here, that I would then just give to my dev team, or I would add through a tag manager onto my website. And that's it. That's all I need to do to retarget. And that's because of these third-party cookies. So if we look at this from the consumer perspective of how this works, I, as an individual, could come over to otkicks.com. Of course, I would need to consent to the targeting cookies. But what that would mean is that the script that Twitter has now put on otkicks.com would drop some form of ID in a third-party cookie that's aligned to maybe twitter.com. And that ID is generally going to be in a hashed identifier. It's not going to be Zachary Faruque or Jane1234. But for these purposes, let's say it was just Jane1234. Now, as I navigate to Twitter, that third-party cookie is still available to Twitter. And so Twitter knows that I am still Jane1234 that was previously on the OT Kicks site. And so because of that, can then present that personalized advertising, that retarget that I've requested to do as the head of marketing from otkicks.com. Now, with the deprecation of third-party cookies, this identifier goes away. And so Twitter has no way of knowing that I'm the same individual that was previously on otkicks.com. And so maybe I'm just going to get a standard contextual ad. So remarketing, retargeting the ad tech ecosystem, by far having the biggest impact with this deprecation of third-party cookies. Now, one of the common questions that we often get asked is, do we still need a cookie banner? And very simply, the answer is absolutely yes. While third-party cookies are being deprecated, first-party cookies will remain. And of course, any first-party cookies that are being dropped that are not strictly necessary, if we're within Europe, for instance, then of course we do need consent for all of those other cookies. Now, when we think about what's coming next, it's tough to say. Google, with their announcement, they have paused testing of their federated cohorts, which was one of the technologies being put forward as a solution for the deprecation of third-party cookies. We're seeing lots of new ID frameworks coming out, probably leading runners are things like the UID2 that was originally built by the Trade Desk, but now run by the IAB. There's also others like the ID5. But really important to know that ultimately, for the ad tech ecosystem to work as it does today, there needs to be a new identifier because those third-party cookies were being used as the identifier. But there's a real opportunity here. The ad tech ecosystem, as it's grown up, as technology has run away with us over the last 10 to 20 years, has become very opaque. And it's not really based on privacy or trust or transparency, those principles that are really at the forefront today of the digital ecosystem. As we've seen consumer expectations change, as we're all more aware, we watch The Social Dilemma on Netflix, and we understand our digital footprint and the data that companies are capturing from us and then monetizing further down the line. So there's a real opportunity to start seeing that person at the other end of the computer screen as a human being rather than just an IP address that we want to drive into our numbers so that we can look at KPIs and increase conversion rates and all of those different things that we want to do. And go back to some good old-fashioned marketing and customer experience. So one of the key things that we're seeing in the market is brands and publishers move towards a first-party data strategy. And that's for a number of reasons. One is that it solves the identifier problem of third-party cookies going away. If we're capturing an email address, if we're showing a mutual value exchange and beginning a relationship earlier on in the journey, that we can leverage that identifier to then pass information into the ad tech ecosystem or into the social media platforms if we're wanting to retarget there. But there are also much wider benefits to this. It allows us to directly engage with our customers. We're not reliant on third-party aggregations or assumptions. We're getting information and interactions directly from them. It increases transparency because we can show the exact data we're collecting. We're capturing it directly from the consumer, so the consumer's aware what information they're giving up. And if we're doing that in the right way, in a contextual manner, it's clear to them how that data is going to be used. It's also going to give us increased insights because we own the data, relying on third-party aggregated data, which means we can start segmenting our audiences. And off the back of that, build personalized content, products, services, communications. So very wide-ranging benefits from moving towards this first-party data strategy. What does that life cycle look like? Well, of course, it's all about establishing an identifier. But what we really mean by this is a relationship. And it is an identifier. It's not a fingerprint. We're not checking screen sizes or what fonts are installed on their system. We're embarking on a mutually beneficial and open relationship with our customers. And then we can map the customer journeys and implement collection points. When is it relevant to capture more information from an individual? And is it clear to that individual why we're capturing the information and what the benefit is to them? And of course, we then need to make sure that we're activating the data. And really the last thing that I wanted to say on this is that it's so important that when we look at these first-party data capture strategies, we look at doing them with a privacy-first mindset. We absolutely want to provide the benefits of personalization, but we need to do it with a privacy-first mindset, because by doing those two things in conjunction, that is what drives transparent user experiences. I did a webinar a few months back earlier on this year with Harry Decker, who's the media director at Unilever. And he said he had two core principles for his team when it came to anything in regards to consumer data. And they were two questions. The first was, would you do this with your mother's data? And the second was, how would you explain this to the 9 o'clock news? Which I thought were lovely, simple guiding principles as we all embark on this journey of increased first-party data capture and direct consumer relationships. That's it from me. If you'd like to learn more about anything that I've talked about, please do feel free to visit preferencechoice.com, or more than happy for you to get in touch with me directly. Thank you very much.